mean, for our children, I love the fact that they are up there, that they're opinionated. Sometimes it gets on my nerves, but it reminds me, that they have a voice, and sometimes their voice I don't want to hear, and I don't want to hear what's coming out of their mouths, because it's easier for me to shut it down and be like, I'm the mama. That's easy. That's so much easier because I said so. Versus, well, why do you think like that? Well, why are you feeling like that? Because then you get these adults who have no clue how to tell you how they feel. I was parent the way that you parent, and for us, we are both educators, first of all. So because we're educators and we learn human growth and development and things of that nature, I think it was the information, and I think God holds you accountable to what He has allowed you to be introduced to. So even if you were trying to go against it, something inside of you was like, you know that ain't right. You know that ain't something you can do. But I also had to, as an adult, I had to in myself forgive, because it's like, my parents did the best that they knew how with what they had. And when you release that, and when you release them from that, then you're able to do other things. And so there were sometimes I had to tell my mom, I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm doing. So, this is what we're doing. This is what we say to our kids. Whatever. I ain't gonna do. Okay, I get it. Well, the time is limited because I'm doing something here. But kids are resilient. They can go in both environments and know what it is. My daughter would tell my mother, we don't eat McDonald's. My daddy said we can't eat McDonald's. And she was like, what? And she would take them and like, we're not eating it because our parents don't eat it. You know what I'm saying? But I just think it's with forgiveness and education.
You always say how you were born to teenage parents, though. So because you were born in a teenage parent environment, there's an expectation for some bumps and bruises. And you had grace for your parents for knowing that they were young when they had you. And because they were young when they had you, they didn't know what to do with you. And thankfully, you were also parented by your grandmother and your grandfather, so you had both generations. So although there's a lot that may have lacked from your parents, you didn't blame them because they were young. And when I think about how many children my parents got married at 20. And I'm like, when I think about how many children they had by 26, I'm like, ain't no way in the world I would have been able to be a good parent at 26 like that. So when you understand your journey, you can give grace to your parents for how they parented you. You can identify what was great about it, and you can identify what was different about it. And then, as you grow up, God sends you teachers, models, people before you. You read books, you go to school for education, you work as an educator. I learned and go to school as an educator, work as an educator, and then you learn things that you want to apply to your children that you say your parents didn't even have context for. So why even be mad about what they did? They didn't
even know,
what
they weren't even introduced to. Like and I guess that whole thing for me in regards to grace and relationships helps you to be able to be the best person and not to be the victim. And I think when you allow grace, you're the victor. You're not the victim, because as soon as I continue to be the victim, I'm shut down to learning. I'm shut down to anything that's going to be good for me. I'm shut down to I'm shut down to anything positive, because I'm like, woe is me. Oh, this is so horrible. Versus, you know what? I'm learning from this. This is the way that God wants. This is the place that He wanted me to be in. Let me learn from this. This is purposeful. Let me take the lessons that I need to learn and let me move on. And it's just so necessary. And I mean, for our children, I love the fact that they are up there, that they're opinionated. Sometimes it gets on my nerves, but it reminds me, that they have a voice, and sometimes their voice I don't want to hear, and I don't want to hear what's coming out of their mouths, because it's easier for me to shut it down and be like, I'm the mama. That's easy. That's so much easier because I said so. Versus, well, why do you think like that? Well, why are you feeling like that? Because then you get these adults who have no clue how to tell you how they feel. They don't have no connection with how they really feel. All they have been doing all of their childhood is trying to please someone and not themselves, and they don't know how to articulate, I don't like that.
And the goal of parenting is really independence, right? The goal of parenting is independence. So I only have this much window of time to make sure you have a voice.
Right.
And make sure that you can communicate, can articulate your thoughts and your opinions. And that training begins in the house. So when you say shut up and don't talk because I said so to your children, you're not giving strength to their voice. And it doesn't have to be disrespectful, but the goal is independence. And so be intentional in your parenting, even if you weren't parented the way that you desire.
And for teen years, because I have to say this one, Dr. Carroll would say, what do you do when your teenager is acting crazy and talking to you crazy? And she said, I just go real quiet. What was that you said?
Right.
And then I can't hear you. What did you just say? Because now they realize, I think people don't realize when both people are going higher, no one can hear anything and you're not even conscious of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if one person goes low, then the other person is forced to move down to that level because you're a kid. So you're going to be forced to move down to your mother's level or your father's level. And now I'm going to get you in a space where I can conversate with you versus being caught up in emotion.
Be intentional. All right, we got to go. That's enough.
What y'all say about the sneaky links?
Girl, ain't nobody about to be no sneaky link.
Ain't nobody in this house. You better not ever be a sneaky link.
Sneaky link.
Once we found out what a sneaky link was, that was a mess. All right.